shaking my head in my negative lag feel after that Buffalo game where they don't. All I can tell you is Dolphins number one, baby!
Things up, baby.
Dolphins
Things
number
up.
one!
I swear, if a certain quarterback is mentioned in the comments, I got my beers ready. I'm going to crack it open.
Or is it a Serbian kid?
Serbian kid,
This looks done. Oh my god, it looks fantastic.
I hate you so much.
No, you beat it, man! Gotta beat it, man!
Woo! I'm the man. I said it, and it's reality. All right,
Congratulations.
Welcome to Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast, home of the longest introduction of all time. Dirtbag Dave is not here, so I'm allowed to play that 1 hour video. It's awesome. Coming to you live on this beautiful Sunday night. As always, we are presented by the Fins Talk Sports Network. Find me here live every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Sunday nights. For you audio listeners on the iTunes, the Spotify, wherever else you listen, please hit that 5-star review. Give me a great comment on there. Helps me out. It's free of charge. It's awesome. Please do it. You guys are doing great. Our YouTube subscribers are up to 815. They were like in the 790s last week, right, Bobby? Like we got a big boost this week, so that's awesome. Hey, and we have a guest. We have a great guest, Dante Daniels at PayDirt _profile on Twitter. What's the poop, Dante?
So nothing much, man. Trying to get this stop going in and out. I'm trying to listen to you. That was a banger of an intro. I don't know what your co-host thinks, but I loved it. I was out there grooving, you know.
Right? I like it because it gets me into the mood. Like we're a Miami Dolphins network. It gives me that Miami Vice vibe. I don't know if that's what it's supposed to do, but it really hypes me up for the show. I'm glad you like it. But hey, I want to get right into the content, right into the stuff because, you know, lollygagging. Look, Dave's not here. The nonsense is gone. Dirtbag Dave, we love you. If you don't watch the show and if you're new to the show, check him out on Viking David 28. He's a great follow. He's not for fantasy, not for sports, not for stats, just for life. Like Dave is a character. I love it. We had trivia this week. I cut it out. Nobody can get it right anyway, but it was stemmed off of a tweet I saw on Twitter that you may have seen as well because it got a lot of views. It was a Justin Fields tweet. It was Justin Fields' red zone efficiency tweet. Did you see this tweet? Did you see it?
I did not.
Okay. It's not important. It's just
he
was like 68%. He was 68% in the red zone. He had 11 passing touchdowns and 5 rushing touchdowns and 1 interception. And I'm like, it's not bad. What do you think about that?
Good numbers, especially coming from a situation where everybody wants to talk down about him passing.
Well, here's the thing about that. I looked it up. I'm like, I got to look at this up because I'm not a Justin. Yeah, I can hear you. You're just going in and out a lot, which is okay. I think we can fix it on the back end. Okay. But we're definitely in the situation with Justin Fields where you either love him. Oh, no worries. I'll just talk over it as we're fixing that. You either love Justin Fields and you think he's the best thing of all time and you're drafting him 5 overall in a Superflex rookie draft or a startup draft, which you're totally insane if you do that. Or you're someone like me who thinks he had a good run. He's going to be a serviceable quarterback. He might average you 18 points a game. Not really worth the first round capital in a startup dynasty. Superflex, but that's just me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it if you're still there, if you're not frozen. You're doing a great, what's that thing where you're like, freeze tag?
Caw.
No, that sucks, man. I've had internet issues before, and it's Bob, you've been here through my internet issues.
I have. It happens. It's okay.
It's
all
okay.
good. At least he got himself out a good picture. It's not like he's picking his nose and stuck there.
Oh yeah, like he's not like making a face like I would make.
Yeah,
like,
yawning or something. You know.
At least he doesn't look like a Charlotte Flair. I'm sorry, Bobby.
Oh, you son of a!
I didn't want to go there
Come
today.
on.
We have an awesome guest on our show. You're back.
Are you there? Hey, there you go.
I'm back.
You're
I
back
fell
and you
into
sound
another
clear.
dimension, bro. I don't know what happened.
Did you grab a portal gun from Rick and Morty and you're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go into the frozen zone. That's where we're going.
I hit me one of my sling ring from Doctor Strange. Just stepped back into it. I think I'm all right now.
So we were talking about Justin Fields. I need to know which side are you on? The side that will overdraft him and love him, or kind of like he's okay, he's average.
I don't tend to overdraft anybody. I feel like fantasy football is all about value, but I am a huge Justin Fields fan, especially when it comes to rushing production from the quarterback position in fantasy. I mean, it's very difficult. I think Dynasty Zoltan had a tweet out recently of having a quarterback to get like an elite 25 point per game season. There's only been a few of them. Like there's been like 6 quarterbacks over the last several years that have been able to produce that without rushing for 15 yards a game. And 15 yards is not a huge threshold. So I'm a big Justin Fields fan. I think that he can take a huge step forward this year. So if you're on the fence, I think I would definitely lean towards overdrafting, getting a guy who can produce elite numbers for you. But it's all about value, man. It's all about value.
Draft. We are big proponents of draft for value, trade for need. That's huge on this show. We preach that every single week. I'm on the fence. So little history. Justin Fields coming out. I had him over Trevor Lawrence. I had him as the quarterback 1 of that draft. I think that Justin Fields was special. I still do think he's special. We even had Adam Rank on our show during that process when he got drafted to the Bears, and he was all in. We're all in. We're all having a good time. Viking Dave on our show is not a fan. He's a Vikings fan, so he's not. I have I've kind of went bitter towards Justin Fields, not because of him though. Because of his offense, because of the talent around him, because of the 18 or 22 passing attempts per game. That's not going to get it done. I did some research today, and I hate doing this. I hate take this game out, and he wouldn't average that. But he had a great stretch where he played bad defenses. In the 2 games where he scored 45 points were against Miami, which we all know on this network was not at that time was not in a good space defensively. And then they played Detroit. So those are 2 games where he went back-to-back 40-plus games against the 2 worst defenses at the time in the NFL. You take those 2 games away, which you can't do, he only scores 17 points a game. Like, to me, this screams huge outlier, huge risk for a guy who he didn't even eclipse over 200 yards passing but twice last season. That's not what I want my quarterback 1. And at 5th overall, I know he rushed for a lot. I'm being long-winded. I know he rushed for a lot. But in that stretch, he was scoring rushing touchdowns like they were nothing. 1, 2. Like he was literally, he played Dallas as well. He played great against Dallas, but he only scored 25 fantasy points that game, not 41, 42. 25 is great. But I'd rather get a guy who's done it multiple years, multiple games, especially in a startup. That's all I'm thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have guys like Justin Herbert, you have guys like Lamar Jackson who are in that same area. You're going to want to go with that proven MVP caliber player. Justin Herbert, multiple seasons of 4,000 plus yards passing. I mean, that's why when a push comes to shove, like definitely don't overdraft that player, but he has the ability to take that leap like Jalen Hurts did this year. He has some of that upside built in. I think the key is not to take him at that ceiling, not to take, those numbers for face value, kind of as you mentioned, like there's an easy opportunity for him to fall back. But if he can take a small step forward, they can give him a more improvement on the offensive line, give him a little bit more time. He might take a little bit less, a little bit fewer rushing attempts, but if he's able to get the ball in his playmakers' hands, they're able to maintain drives. I think we can see another step forward for him. I would love for them to take Jackson Smith and Jigma at 9. That would be amazing addition. I mean, I know that they have Mooney and and Claypool, but both of those guys are free agents in 2024. So if you can round out that receiving core, give him another year under Luke Getsy and that coaching staff out there and the Bears, like you can only play the people that are in front of you. So the Lions aren't going anywhere. They're improving on defense, but they're still not necessarily stout. Same thing with Minnesota. I don't know their schedule this year, but those strength of schedule numbers, they always change as the season goes on. So even if we think, maybe if we take these games out and, he would have had a lesser season, like you never know. What if his schedule is even more juicy next year? We never know until the season's going to start.
No, I get it. My last thing on Justin Fields, because those are all great points. You got to play the people ahead of you. Like you take that into account when you're drafting. Like, okay, this person plays in a cake division or something of that sort. I'm going to go get that guy over because they play cake schedules. The thing with Justin Fields, you mentioned Jalen Hurts, and I brought this up multiple times, and I'm kind of against it now because I always said Josh Allen was ass until he got Stephon Diggs passing. Jalen Hurts was ass passing until he got A.J. Brown passing. But those guys were throwing the ball 400 times a game no matter what already before Stephon Diggs, before A.J. Brown. I just need to see this offense take a step and prove that they're going to throw the ball 400 times a year. And are we putting DJ Moore in that Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown category? And on top of that, you had Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert for Hurts. On the Buffalo side, you had some playmakers on that team as well. I feel like Mooney, DJ Moore, they're great. They're good, but they don't have they just don't have that other. They're not built for the Super Bowl like I believe the Eagles and like the Bills were. That's all. But we will move on. We could talk about.
I do one that I think that we do need. Okay.
No, you go ahead.
No worries,
I want
no
you.
worries.
No, I want to hear that. I do want to hear. I love Justin Fields talk. It's my favorite.
I was just going to say, I think we just need to have tempered expectations in regard to the offense. They were coming out in Green Bay. They didn't throw the ball a ton. Obviously, you have Aaron Rodgers, so you have, a more propensity to lean towards the run than the pass, but they weren't throwing it as Chiefs were. Aaron Rodgers was just very efficient, and getting more passing weapons and getting more time in that offense, I think, is going to help them just as much as the overall pass volume would.
Yes, I agree on that. We are going to move on to some news and notes around the NFL. We had a huge trade, which we all saw coming. I believe we all saw coming. I even tweeted about it 5 minutes before he got traded. I said, please do not trade Elijah Moore until I acquire him in more leagues. 5 minutes later, Underdog went nuts and gave me the alert. I'm like, well, lost my shot. Elijah Moore to the Cleveland Browns. I'm a big fan of this move. I'm not a big fan of Deshaun Watson personally, but I think this is going to boost Watson more than it does Elijah Moore. I think giving him the weapons. I'd like to hear your take on this.
Yeah, absolutely. My first takeaway was, why wasn't he involved in the Aaron Rodgers trade? That's still a little bit of a conundrum there, but I agree wholeheartedly. I think this is going to definitely help Watson. He was up and down at the end of the last season. I was a huge fan before realizing that he was not a quality human being. But as far as fantasy is concerned, having a player who can be versatile, like Moore, stretch the field, work underneath, you do things in the intermediate passing game. He's great on whip routes, great on digs, slants. He has a reception perception profile that's pretty clean. So, I don't foresee him being a huge get for this season. But if you're playing dynasty leagues, obviously Amari Cooper is not going to be the number one threat forever. He's not going to be the high earning receiver forever. So if you take this opportunity, you could probably still get more for more of a discount than when the actual season starts and he's making big plays. So I don't think it's too late for you. Go out there and get some more DJ Moore, man.
Yeah, Elijah Moore. I want to get all of Elijah Moore. Yeah, you're good. It sucks because before last year. So last year was the Donovan Peoples-Jones. He got on everyone's radar. Everyone grabbed him. He did well for fantasy in certain spots. I had him the year before when nobody was on him. And I'm like, let's go. I got me some gold. So this is gonna hurt some Donovan Peoples-Jones value. This is gonna hurt Elijah Moore's value, and it's gonna hurt Njoku's value. I believe that Amari Cooper is safe for now. I believe that obviously Nick Chubb is safe. Obviously, he's always safe. Nick Chubb is Nick Chubb. But you're spot on with Elijah Moore. I think he's going to start off slow. I think he's going to have to get used to this offense. They are a run-heavy team. I'd like to see that change for Deshaun Watson. But all in all, I love this. And you said, why did they not go to Green Bay? Maybe Green Bay didn't want them. Maybe Green Bay wants these picks. That's what I'm thinking. These picks they got are going to Green Bay eventually.
Yeah.
And we got someone in the chat. Oh, what's up, G? He was on the show last week. Yes, I am buying Watson everywhere. I've been buying Watson everywhere. I've been preaching this ever since last year. Go buy Watson. Like, I think, and I said this today with my group of friends, my small group, my circle, my inner circle. They all trashed me. I would take Deshaun Watson over Justin Fields. Sorry. That's just true. It's a guy who's proven that he can be an MVP caliber of talent. He can get the rushing. He can throw for 40 touchdowns and still rush for a safe floor of 400. That the guy we saw last year was not Deshaun Watson. That was a shell of himself. I think we're going to see the full Deshaun Watson this season.
So, when you're saying you're going to take or Watson over Fields, are you talking about at cost, or if you were sitting there with pick 110 in a Superflex league and both of them are staring you in the face, you're going to take Watson first?
Yeah, I'll take Watson first. He's safer to me. He's very safe. Like, see, that's the thing is, why is it spicy? He's so safe. He's proven year in, year out. Whereas Justin Fields is the one that we're like, question mark.
I definitely feel you there. I think the spice comes from, number one, the age. I think number two, that there's projection on both parts. I think I 100% agree. You probably could have found a bigger Watson fan than me. I will to this day say, if you redraft the 2017 draft, even though you know what Patrick Mahomes is, Deshaun Watson should have been the number one player going into it. We all know, the accolades that he had. We all saw him in college. He's still that type of player potentially. I just think that at the end of the day, they still have that propensity to run the ball. I still think that, you have, 4 years or so more if you're taking the Fields. I don't think it's super spicy, but I think there's enough projection that if the team wants to continue to take care of the ball, wants to be balanced, he might not get the volume rushing, because at this stage in his career, he might be trying to transition a little bit more to being a pocket passer, not having the 500 to 700 yards to fall back on, to where it's like, now you're going to need 4,500, 5,000 yards to, balance and counterbalance the guy who's rushing for, 7, 8, 900 yards and, hopefully can increase their passing. So not super spicy, but I think I would take the Field side of that one.
I'm to the point now where I'm willing, if I roster Fields, which I only roster him in about 1 out of 30 leagues, I would do a straight up trade. I would.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've seen some of my trades, man. I'm like, if I want that player, I'm going to get that player.
I've seen it.
And if I have,
I've
if I have the assets that everyone wants, I'm like, for example, in our league, I have Garrett Wilson. I can get whoever I want. I know I can. I can get probably whoever I want besides, minus the top studs. I'm not going to do it because he's the kind of guy I want. But if there was a guy out there eventually that I'm like, I'm just in love with this guy. Hey, G, you have a player I want. Here's Garrett Wilson. He'd be like, all right, like, because it's Garrett Wilson. I'm just freaking. Yeah. I made a trade this weekend. I got trashed for I traded 4 picks. I gave up Goddard and I gave up Tony Pollard in a Superflex tight end premium league. And I'm like, guys, Tony Pollard's going, what is he, 26, going on a franchise tag year. He's going to be 27. What 27-year-old running backs are going to get this guaranteed money contract where he's going to be super safe? I'm looking at franchise tag running backs I'm out on. Goddard's awesome, but I still believe in Kyle Pitts. What do you think about that? Just humor me. Pump me up. Did I do well?
You know what? Do you guys see this right here? You guys see this right here? I love Kyle Pitts. I love me some Kyle Pitts. And I think that if you're going to make an aggressive move like that, I can get behind it. obviously the people are going to look on its face and say like, oh, it's Tony Pollard, all the reasons you just mentioned. But if you look at this from a year from now, everybody has career arcs as far as their production and their value. Tony Pollard's production might continue to increase, but that value is going to go by the wayside very quickly. Dallas Goedert, he's still a little bit younger. He's not
28.
I believe so. I think 27 or 28. He's not in the George Kittle, Travis Kelce realm. But when you're looking at a guy like Kyle Pitts is still like 22 years old. I mean, it's going to be, if you can get Kyle Pitts to be what we think he's going to be a year from now, value wise, like you're hitting that intersection point, and then you're still going forward with Kyle Pitts. So I like that move. Sometimes you have to give up quality players in order to get quality players. So
exactly.
Tell your friends, stop tripping. You got Kyle Pitts for next several years.
Let's go. I like to hear that. The last little news tidbit, little rumors. DeAndre Hopkins trade rumors are heating up. I want to see him get moved. I don't want it to happen like later I want it to happen before the draft. Because I want to know what teams need, what they're going to do, what the Chiefs are going to do, what everyone's going to do. So my question to you is, where do you think he's going to go, and where do you want him to go?
Well, number one, I think it's good that we kind of got the reporting recently, I think over the last month or so, that his suspension voided his no trade clause. So the speculation early was like, oh, he can only go somewhere where he wants to go. And it's like, nah, bro, if they're going to give you the picks, then you're out of here, buddy. So I think right now, as a Falcons fan, they've been floating the rumors out there. You hear the Patriots. It's kind of a challenge to see, who's going to be able to give that price tag they're asking for, like second and third round picks. Like it's a little bit steep there. Obviously, it's going to be a team who's going to be wanting to take that next step forward. It's going to be a team that's going to want to compete. I still think the Patriots are poor drafters. We had a podcast about a year or two ago where we were talking about teams like the Patriots and the Seahawks who have gotten this aura around them because they hit on a draft class or so, that they're this amazing team. Like the Patriots do a really good job of finding value and maximizing that value. They have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 picks. They're not good at drafting receivers. So I would put my money on him showing up there, being an opportunity to help Mac Jones and give him every opportunity to succeed, because right now there's some question marks there. The second season didn't go very well, but you're looking at the offensive coordinator, seeing defensive kind of guy, Mike Patricia, not really doing very well. So I'm looking at the Patriots as a team who has the most to gain to acquire him. I would love to see the Falcons pick him up. I would love, that. I don't want to be a homer in that situation, but a team that could have him mentor Drake London. He can provide balance. You have two guys who can win at all three levels. Now you have two tight ends who can win, with the ball in their hands and at multiple levels, running overs and crossers. And then they're going to have that strong running game. So I think if you're at a team like the Falcons, you have immense balance all over the field, all three levels, horizontally and vertically. So I think he'll go to the Patriots, hoping that he ends up at the Falcons. What about you?
Oh, nice. Well, yeah, I'm hoping that he ends up in Kansas City, to be honest with you. I don't know if they're out on him yet, but gosh, I want Mahomes to be. I'm a huge Mahomes guy. Obviously, everyone is in the world, but I'd like to see Hopkins just crush it. We saw him come back last year, just dominate. I didn't expect that at all. I was a huge Hollywood mark. Excuse me. I still am a huge Hollywood mark. My bold prediction last year was Hollywood Brown would end the season with the most targets in the NFL. That was my bold prediction.
Ooh.
And he was on pace.
He was close.
He was crushing it. And I was like, I'm sitting here, woo, let's go. And then Hopkins is coming back. He got hurt right when Hopkins was coming back. So I'm like, we'll never know. We'll never know.
Yep.
My bold prediction of Hollywood Brown will never come true. But I would like to see Hollywood. I just want Hollywood to have his own freaking core. I want Hollywood and Kyler to do magic. So I want Hopkins gone. I don't care where he goes. New England makes a lot of sense. As a Dolphins fan, I don't want to see that. We already got to deal with Diggs. Already got to deal with Garrett Wilson. Already got to deal with the legend known as Alan Lazard. That nobody.
Oh God.
I just don't want any more. Look, Dolphins got Ramsey and Howard. We're good. We got it. But I want to win some games. I'm tired of facing these studs. Kansas City is my dream spot. Please, Kansas City.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
Awesome. That would be awesome. Hey, for all you guys coming in and filing in here, please, hit that like button, subscribe. We're about to break down a rookie mock draft that we held last week with my guest Dante Daniels at PayDirt_profile on Twitter. So let's get right into it. I want to ask you before we get into it though, when do you like to start your rookie draft? So what's the best time of the year?
So I'm a little bit crazy when it comes to rookie drafts. I have no problem drafting them at any time of the year, but I personally have grown to like drafting them like right before the NFL draft, like post combine, before NFL draft. There's always these schools of thoughts on Twitter where draft capital is king. People are going to say landing spots don't matter. Landing spots do matter. People are going to say these metrics matter. Combine does, combine doesn't. The only thing that we can do is deal with the information that we've gathered. And when it comes to drafting these rookies, if you want the most value, doing it before you get spoon-fed the draft capital once the draft happens, that gives you the most opportunity to excavate that value. If you've done the research, if you've watched film, if you've listened to the articles, if you've grinded the numbers, if you can put that all together, you can come up with sometimes half a round, even a round or two value on players that are not going to be there. Like for instance, Roshan Johnson, he's going in the third round of rookie drafts right now. If he gets even third round draft capital, there's zero chance that he's going to be there at the middle of a third round rookie draft.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be, late second, mid to late second for the most part. So those types of situations really provide value. So I would love to do it there. I'm good drafting whenever. I'm always ready to draft. So how about you, man?
I prefer after. I want to be spoon-fed. And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why. Because last year at this time we were all drafting. I don't do rookie drafts unless I have to before the NFL draft. People were drafting Malik Willis 102, 103, 104. And it wasn't me because I didn't do my drafts until after, but I would have been one of those guys. I really would have been. I would have been stuck. And we talked about a pre-show where that could really damage. Picking a player at 101, 102, 103 is in swinging and missing it's a disaster because you're at 101 through 103 for a reason. You're a bad team and you need to rebuild unless you got lucky and you traded for that pick. And if you're drafting super early and you're unsure and you don't know about the prospects, like look at someone like Rashad Bateman. He would be a super stud anywhere else besides Chicago and besides Baltimore where he's at now. He would be a super stud, but we're not seeing it because of his draft capital, because of where he went and where he landed. I don't want my dynasty teams to be not luck of the draw because you have to do your research, but to be determined by that. I think Bateman was the number 2 receiver coming out of that draft. I love him. I don't love his spot. I am not a fan of him where he's at. I didn't draft him anywhere just for that reason.
Right.
So I don't like that. I want it. Typically, how many dynasty leagues are you in?
Probably like 15 to 20.
Okay, I'm in like 22. Okay. So the way we do it, and we're all the same kind of group of people, we usually do, Monday, start the draft. After the NFL drafts Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, we start a draft. And then when that stops, we start another one. So we're literally drafting every week until the football season. That's freaking awesome.
That's awesome. I love that. that.
Yeah. So I try to schedule. That's the way I schedule it, just for it's more fun. But I do want to do one where it's before, but it's like a Devy league. And I'm not in any Devy leagues. Would that be a Devy league?
I think Devy would be if you included current college players. I think you would have to include players that are not draft eligible to be Devy. I think you can go a couple of different ways. You can draft, in January or February. I've done that too. And use like kickers as prospects, or you draft as many players as keeper or a sleeper has available. And if there's somebody that you want, you pick like Tim Tebow, some guy, and that's still in the lower confines. You just write in his name. This is so and so. But yeah, I think you can still do that. You can do the Devi, but I'm not super familiar. I would love to. Like my little brother is junior in high school, and he's getting some looks here. So I'll be
Ooh.
picking up Devi here soon in the next couple of years. So I can draft my bro.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. That's great, man. I wish my brother was that athletic and smart. Instead, he just worked at Hollywood Video.
Hey, we need those heroes too, man.
Yeah, we do. Hey, Bobby, can we get that first round up? I want to go through the first round real quick and talk about these quarterbacks. So as you see, we drafted a rookie. We went 3 rounds deep, super flex, and these were the participants. Now there was 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks taking in the first round. My next question to you is: which of these quarterbacks do you feel strongly about? Which one is ready for the NFL? And what stands out to you? CJ Stroud going 1? Wasn't that Love or Young? I call him Love. What do you think about these quarterbacks in this draft?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they went in the consensus order. Everybody's kind of looking at CJ Stroud, Bryce Young at the top. I think unfortunately it's kind of a cop out answer, but DC really matters. I'm the kind of person who I've been looking at CJ Stroud going to the Panthers and being an amazing fit there. For the last several months, and with them trading up to number 1, I think it's a slam dunk that he goes there, and I think it's a slam dunk that he starts right away. So I feel very strongly that he's going to be a quarterback that's going to be able to kind of get his feet wet early. They have not a ton of bright spots around him. They don't have anybody you're overly excited about, but you have a lot of veterans, a lot of guys who've seen multiple schemes. You have a lot of guys who've seen multiple seasons, with the exception of Terrace Marshall, but he provides a little bit of explosiveness. So while people are not really super gung-ho about his situation, I think that's a very solid spot, with some mentors around you, some versatile pieces around you. So I'm very excited about his spot there. Hopefully anyway, that he lands there in Carolina. As a Falcons fan, I hope he doesn't do too great. But then also, you know what, I think Anthony Richardson going where he went is very consensus at number 5, but I do have some concerns there. Similarly to the Justin Fields, the Jalen Hurts of the world, I think that if you want a player to be successful, you have to utilize that player to their strengths. You have to be able to work your offense around that player and not be an offensive coordinator who wants to have that player capitulate to your system. And with the teams that are sitting there at the top, I don't know how many of those teams are willing to say, look, go out there and run, go out there and be an athlete. We'll use that. We'll get you on the move. I kind of have a fear that if you're taking him at 5, with Gibbs right there behind him, that you're going to have a little bit of risk, or best case scenario for his long term and worst case scenario for your short term as a owner or dynasty owner is that he sits. And so if he does sit, maybe that helps him out long term. But I want to see my guys get on the field. I'm very impatient when it comes to rookies. I want the immediate impact. If I can get a quarterback like Stroud who's going to start day 1, then I'll be willing to take that shot. But I'm kind of fearful a little bit of where AR might find himself.
Yeah, I'm just hoping AR lands up in a spot where he can sit, where he can take some notes and learn the game and get some better, just better overall. I don't understand. He won't be on any of my teams. That's all I'm going to say about that. I just don't want to take the risk. I just don't. We saw our buddy Seahawks fan 7 with the 101 take the quarterback in a Superflex league. That's usually the go-to. That's usually what happens. We saw MJB 6008 take Bijan Robinson at number 2, and that's kind of odd. We don't see that often in mocks, especially this season. What would it take for you to go ahead and take Stroud over Bijan in anywhere you have 101?
So as I mentioned previously, I'm very impatient. I would have taken Bijan if I'm thinking my own roster. Most of my roster are win now rosters or in the middle, gearing towards winning now. I think Bijan would be immediate help towards doing so. For me, it would have to be a draft, as you mentioned, post NFL draft. You see where the you see where the landing spots, everybody shakes out. Let's say, for instance, Carolina, they have a pick at, I think, 40, 39 or 40 in the second round, and they take a young receiver to pair, or they go with the offensive tackle who's going to help out. Something along those lines is going to make you a little bit more confident about his ability to help your team right away. That's what I would need to see. It would be very draft capital oriented. I would need to see additional weapons there to know that my early investment would be worthwhile, because I know for a fact that Bijan Robinson is going to be a threat right away. And contrary to how a lot of other people play Dynasty, I play in 2 to 3 year increments. We have absolutely no idea what's going to happen after that. Everybody knows and understands that quarterbacks have more longevity, but if you look at the quarterbacks since, I think it was like 2014, how many of them are still in the same teams that drafted them? There are no guarantees anywhere. So if I'm going to go and I'm going to look at the next 2 to 3 years, if I have a Trevor Lawrence, or I have one of those types of guys that I know is going to be a stud day one, really good, offense around them, good weapons around them, then sure, I'll go ahead and take them. But unless I see that, I'm going with the guarantee, quote unquote guarantee, 2 years of Bijan Robinson. What say you?
Yeah, so I have the 101 in one league, and I earned it. I'm bad. I earned this 101. It was a startup. I drafted this way to be bad. I have Breece Hall and I have Kenneth Walker.
Okay.
So, and my quarterbacks are shaky at best, and my receivers are good, like very good, solid receivers. And I have George Kittle. So I'm sitting there going, man, I have Breece Hall, I have George Kittle, I have Kenneth Walker. You only need to start 2 running backs, and I have really good, like T. Higgins, good receivers. I don't know how I finished dead last, but I did. So I'm like, because injuries, Breece Hall went down, Walker didn't play for like half the season, and then I had like George Kittle. It's a disaster. But I'm thinking about taking Stroud because I have the running back there. What I'm honestly thinking of doing is trading down to 103 and 102, which is what but everyone knows. That's the thing. Everyone knows, because everyone listens and everyone knows. That's the worst thing about having this show. I promise you. Everyone knows what you want. And then when you're done publishing the show and after you're done live, I'll have about 4 trade offers in my inbox from the same people. And I'm like, just because I'm talking shit about him on the show, just because I'm hyping up Michael Thomas doesn't mean I want him in your dynasty leagues. I don't want him. I love Michael Thomas. I just don't want him right now at whatever his age is. But that happens to me. So I think I'm going to take the quarterback there in that situation. But you're right. If it's where you're, maybe take what you know. We know Bijan's going to be elite. We know he is. So that's the right pick. If you have the 101 and you want to take a quarterback there, I suggest you trade down and work hard on it, because there's about 3 guys that you can be okay with. I'm not excited about Levis at all. I'm just not. I want Stroud, but he's going to be 102. All right, moving on. Can we get that draft back up there around 1? I want to talk about these receivers. These receivers are I noticed you took I noticed you took Jackson over Bryce Young and over Gibbs, which I wasn't surprised about, because I think I'd do that as well. So we'll leave him out of it real quick. Think about the other guys. Quentin, Addison. Talk about them.
So both of those guys are a little bit of enigmas. Jordan Addison didn't perform quite as well at the combine as people would have loved. Quentin Johnston is a guy who has all the physical tools per se, but didn't quite put it together consistently. I mean, when you see a guy with that type of package, you would kind of hope that he's going to be more dominant. He was definitely better after the catch than advertised for a guy who's 6'4". But I think Jordan Addison is just such a smooth route runner, a guy who can help you at all 3 levels. I think having them both at 7 and 8 is very fair. I think that's a great spot for both of them. If it came down to it, I think I would probably lean Addison over Johnston, because as a dynasty manager, I'm more of a let me find a guy with a high floor with access to a ceiling. When you're a quality route runner, not much is going to hurt your ability to produce unless you're injured. If you're a guy who like Quentin Johnston, who is a really big, fast, physical, guy, but you're not really great at high pointing the ball. You're fast, but maybe you're not the fastest player on the field. You're not great at getting off of press. Like if a guy jams you up in your face and you can't get into the route or can't beat him with nuance, that's a pick that might not be able to come to fruition for you. So without knowing draft capital, I think those are fair spots, but I'm going to lean Addison over Johnston in most situations. And Zay Flowers is a guy who's right there as well. Similar traits, being able to beat you with route running ability, run after the catch ability, etc. So I would probably take Addison right there. Johnston is probably falling more towards like a 9 or 10 selection for me.
Nice. I agree with that. Hey, can you put that big board up? Because I want to move on to a debate that I've been having internally in my head. And that's Jackson Smith. I'm not going to pronounce the hyphen last name. I'm not good at it yet. I'm bad with names. I'm calling N'Keal Harry. I still call him Harry. I don't know. I can't figure out his name still. Ever since I took him 101, I still can't figure out his name. But I've been debating in my head because I have 104 somewhere, and it's either Gibbs or Jackson. And I'm like, I don't need a running back, and I don't specifically need a receiver. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty stacked. I'm leaning towards Jackson. Obviously you are too. You took him at 103. But sell me on Gibbs. Like, tell me why I should be falling in love with this guy, because I'm just not.
So if I was a Gibbs guy, I would let you know that the NFL is going more towards committees. The NFL is moving more towards being able to win in space, and who knows how long that's going to last, because everything is cyclical here. But right now, a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs is, a home run hitter. He's a guy who's going to help you in the passing game and negative game scripts. He's big enough. He's strong enough to win between the tackles. Now, he's probably not going to be your primary between the tackles guy, but a guy who can still excel and still win there is essential. You're not going to be schemed out of the game if you're Jahmyr Gibbs. If you're negative or positive game script, you're going to be able to remain on the field. And he's a guy who's dynamic, great contact balance, really strong hands. He can get out and run routes from the slot. He can run routes from outside. The biggest issue with him is going to be, are you going to get a coach who's going to be able to utilize you that way? I mean, we saw DeAndre Swift is a guy who I comp Jahmyr Gibbs to, maybe not really be utilized efficiently or effectively, over with the Lions as much as you would like to see. So if you can get a team, I mean, I continue to think that if the Sean Payton-led Broncos found some way to get Jahmyr Gibbs to pair with J-Dub long-term, like that would give them the perfect Mark Ingram and Kamara complement. Because if we remember, they picked up Adrian Peterson that same offseason, and it was like this crowded three-headed monster backfield. What's going to happen? They have P. Ryan, who's a solid veteran, but not anybody you should really worry about. If he was there and found his way to Denver Broncos, man, that guy could blow up and win you some fantasy leagues. So if I was a Jahmyr Gibbs owner and I was watching the draft and he went to any kind of creative mind of offensive coordinator, he'd be vaulted up my boards for sure.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. Broncos. If you can find a way to get him there with Williams, who won't be healthy at the beginning of the season, that would be magnificent. That would be great. Perfect situation. But we are a Dolphins network. We need a running back. Miami, come on, we gotta do something. We can't be rolling with Raheem, old Dusty Mostert, and
Jeff
injured freaking made out of plastic Jeff Wilson. We can't do it again. I don't want to sit through another year of this blah running backs. I can't take it. Let's go. Well, we're running out of time here, but I want to hit up the second round at least before we go. Can we pull up this round 2? What sticks out basically to you? I know you mentioned Zay Flowers. I took Josh Downs over him. Is that a mistake?
You know what? I don't think it's a mistake right now, but it could look like a mistake in a month or so. They're so close. There's so much overlap in their ability to win out of the slot. I think Josh Downs is a little bit more of that vertical receiver. He reminds me a lot of Darnell Mooney. So I think it's fine. It's really a point of preference. Are you going to go with the guy who's a little bit, better after the catcher? I think is Zay Flowers. Both of them are pretty strong route runners. Or are you going to go for a guy who's probably a little bit better down the field, being able to make those plays in Josh Downs? I would probably lean Flowers in that situation, but hey, I don't think there's anything wrong with taking Josh Downs right there. They're both really quality football players.
Perfect. My favorite player in this draft, or second round at least, which I found out today watching a lot of tape, is Devon Archain. Sorry, guys.
A-Chain, yeah.
A-Chain. I'm terrible with names.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy secretly that is going to rise up this list, and he may end up in the first round. And it depends on draft capital. Everything depends on draft capital. But watching him today kind of made me go, man, is he the guy? Is he like not Rachaad White, but is he the guy that's going to surprise everyone and be that guy who's actually better, the third best running back in this draft?
Think about him as the bizarro, maybe not bizarro world, but the mirror version of Jahmyr Gibbs. If you can't get Gibbs at the top of the first or middle of the first, and you want that skill set, then Devon A-Chain is a guy that you can definitely jump into in the second round and be like, hey, I got Gibbs light. And if you like where he lands, I mean, you could, like you said, find a diamond in the rough really quick.
Wait. How tall is this guy?
I believe he's 5'8" or 5'9". He's not the largest player. He's like 5'9", I think, like 185, I believe. He's definitely a guy who's going to be a satellite player, a guy who's going to win in space. If the Chargers move on from Eckler and he finds himself there, it's a nice addition for you. But yeah, definitely a strong player.
We got some trolls in the chat saying I could probably knock out Archain. It's a long joke. I've said it many times. I could beat up Rondell Moore. Dude's 5'7". I could body slam that guy. 5'8" and below, I'm out. I really am out. I could beat them all up.
Do you have a wrestling background, my guy?
You know what? I'm 5'9", and I'm probably way more than that guy. I'll beat him up.
He can squat like 500 to 600 pounds. He got some.
Can't touch Charlotte Flair though.
That package.
What was that, Bobby?
Can't touch Charlotte Flair.
I'll beat up Charlotte Flair too. I mean, I would not.
Whoa!
I would not.
Put it on Twitter. I'm putting it on right now.
In WWE 2K, guys. In 2K, guys, come on. I'm not a Charlotte. Do you watch wrestling?
I don't currently, but I always go down the rabbit hole every month or two, because when I was a kid, I loved it. I just was so far removed from knowing who everybody is. So I think the last match I watched was like a AJ Styles versus Randy Orton match or something like that, like a year or so ago. Every time I tune in, I'm like, oh man, I'm a year behind. Like, I'll catch up on YouTube again in another year.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, I just wanted to preference that I will be off next week. We will not be doing a show because WrestleMania is 2 nights and it's next weekend. So I'm not going to do a show Saturday or Sunday, and I'm not going to make Bobby work through it because we are going to, be talking about our watching WrestleMania. So we're going to go around through real quick. One of these guys, everyone's talking Darnell Washington on this network. Apparently, he's a great guy that everyone wants on the Dolphins. I can see him moving up. Who else on this list do you see escaping that third round, going into the second?
I mean, Darnell Washington in that points per blocking league, like, man, he's gonna be great. I mentioned Roschon Johnson. I think he's a big one. And then also I'm a big Cedric Tillman and Chase Brown guy. Chase Brown, I think, is just one of those very all-around quality running backs, high floor kind of guy. And then Cedric Tillman, I think he's being slept on a ton. I think he's a superior actual receiver to Jalen Hyatt, a guy who I forgot who my comp for him was. Was it Adam Thielen? Anyway, a guy who I think that in the third round right there has the ability to kind of step in day one and really be a difference maker for a team, is like, that dark horse sneaks into your wide receiver 3 end of season ranks with the ability to be a wide receiver 2 for you in the future.
Oh, nice. I don't know how you are with third round picks, man. I always discount them and trade them away so I don't have to deal with this because I am a dynasty guy. I am a guy who loves dynasty, but I think none of these guys ever hit. I think the only third round player I hit more on undrafted free agents, undrafted in general than I do round 3. Maybe I just don't do the research. Look at like Dwayne McBride. I'm not going to lie, full disclosure. I took him because I like Danny McBride. And I like Trey McBride. So I thought it was a cool last name.
Oh man. Well,
that's it.
If you want to hit more on your third round picks, definitely follow me on Twitter because I kind of make a living out of picking outliers. People in most fantasy circles just want to throw out anybody who doesn't have the draft capital or anybody who is not a first or second round player because they don't tend to hit. And I think it's a smart decision from a macro perspective, but you have to be able to make some hay here. And if you're great at trading those picks, then I think that's an awesome way to go about it. If you're going to have to stay and spray, I have in one of my leagues, I have a ton of third round picks in a rebuild. And so what I've been doing is, trying to grind the tape, guys like Parker Washington, that entire third round. I like a lot of those guys. You'll be able to see based on the draft capital where they go, where they fit on the depth chart. And if you can find a guy where their skill set matches what the team likes to do historically, you probably have a little bit of a better chance at finding a guy who's at least rosterable. Like Kyle Phillips was a guy last year who I liked a lot. I thought he was at least going to be rosterable. Played pretty well. Elijah Mitchell in the past was a guy that I love. Elijah Mitchell. I have him on a ton of teams. The skill set match to being able to run inside outside zone, foot in the ground, one cut type of runner. So really for those guys, you really have to make sure that you're finding a skill set, like take the player's name and everything out of it. What do they do best in kind of consensus with all the different guys if you're not going to watch the film, and then kind of see what the team likes to do. And if the team drafted that guy because they fit their scheme, you might have a little bit better shot at hitting.
Perfect. So you heard that right there. Follow my boy Dante Daniels, PayDirt_profile to find out these fringe rookie. I'm going to do it because you're going to help me out through these third rounds. Every time I have a third round, I'm like, yo, Dante, I need who is this McBride guy? Is it related to Danny? Because I like Danny a lot. But for all you audio listeners, if you're still there, please go to our YouTube page, Fins Talk Sports Network on YouTube. We're over 815 subscribers at this moment. We want to reach 1,000 by April 27th. That's draft day. We can get there. It's not that hard to hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for that. You guys have been doing a great job at that. We're going to take off next week and the week after because we got WrestleMania. We got Easter. I'm not competing with the Easter Bunny. I'm not doing it. That's a huge ratings loser. So we'll be
bigger than 5'7". You would lose.
I know he's 5'9". Oh, the Easter Bunny, dude. Let me tell you something. We have a bunny. My wife got a bunny for real life, and that thing will beat up my cats, my dogs. That thing is vicious. I hate that bunny. By the way, they are. It makes my wife bleed like every day. But that's besides the point. Where was I at? Yeah, follow us on Twitter, Josh Kimmel OUS at Fins Talk Sports Network as well. Again, PayDirt_profile. Dante, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast. I can't believe we did 52 minutes. It went by like so fast. I need to get you on again.
Whenever you like me, I'll be willing to come by. I appreciate you having me. Hopefully it can help some people out on Twitter. Hit up my DMs if you ever need advice. It's all free. I just like talking ball. I like talking with you. It was a great, 52 minutes and counting. So until next time.
Bobby, play our music.